Greetings and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Kiyonah. Today I would like to talk with you about gardening as an act of revolution or as a revolutionary act. This is springtime. This is the time to be planting your gardens and growing your food, to be getting back out into nature and to be reconnecting with the earth. So I'm thinking a lot about that right now. The garden, spiritually, is the place where Mother Earth and Father Son are one together. We give thanks and praise. Give thanks for the children in the garden where the Mother and the Father are one. And the garden is a place where you can sow seeds that will manifest in the future. And so it's a metaphor of planting seeds in your life. Good seeds, fertile seeds, healthy seeds. And the reason why it's revolutionary is because revolution is the act of making a total change in some system or some way of being. And right now in our society and in a lot of the world, everything is run by the oligarchy, the establishment, totalitarian corporations who have a stranglehold on the earth with genetically modified seeds, industrial agriculture, factory production of food, total disconnection from the earth and the source of your food and your nourishment. I remember the teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. Some people say his name is Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm sure you know who he is. He helped people to awaken. He helped children to awaken simply by peeling and eating an orange. And as he peeled it and ate it with them, slowly and gently, he brought their awareness to the fact that the orange contained all of the sunshine that had gone into its growth, all of the drops of rain, all of the bees and butterflies and birds, all of the earthworms that helped to nourish the soil, all of the farmers who had tended to it, all of the people who had transported to it, and said, you know, the whole world is in this orange, and now you are taking this orange into your body, and it's nourishing you, and you are being consciously aware of it. And that's a sacred and holy thing to do. And when you grow a garden, you are reconnecting with that energy. You are raising your awareness. You're getting your hands into the dirt. And this is revolutionary because it's a total change within this totalitarian oligarchy, this establishment, this corporatocracy that rules agriculture and food production. So growing a garden is a revolutionary act. I call our space a yarden instead of a garden, because our whole yard is a garden of fruit trees and fruit bushes and flowers and food, you know, cucumber, squash, tomato, kale, spinach, sweet potatoes, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, essentially growing a garden is your own humble way of sowing this peaceful revolution and doing your little part to withdraw your support of that corporatocracy, that oligarchy, that establishment. You know, withdrawing your support just a little bit more from Monsanto and whoever all these other companies are. And so in this kind of revolution, instead of shooting guns with bullets, we plant seeds. That's how we indirectly and eventually dismantle our enemy, in this peaceful revolution. We plant seeds, and instead of launching chemical weapons at each other, we gather rainwater in big barrels, and we ohm into it with love, and we use it on our garden. And that raises our energy, and it charges up the energy of our yard and our garden with powerful, loving earth energy. So anybody you see with bare feet and a sun hat and cut off shorts digging around in the dirt is really a backyard revolutionary or a garden rebel. And there are, in fact, many places in America where it's becoming illegal to garden. Illegal to have a garden in your yard if you live in a city. Illegal to gather rainwater because they claim that it's a resource that is owned by the government or the corporations. Zoning laws, and so forth and so on. So they're trying to bring down the hammer on the people, and have totalitarian control of their food production. For real. You can't use the seeds that you buy year after year because they're infertile. You have to save organic heirloom seeds that actually reproduce themselves. You have to circumvent their, devious methods of control that you're not even aware of. You have to bring life back into your life and the world by nourishing the soil with compost and by increasing the populations of the birds and the bees and the butterflies, and by growing your own food organically so that you are in control of nourishing your body. You are in control of how it's produced and distributed. You are in control of how it is preserved and packaged and cooked and used in your own life. That's radical. That's anarchist. You are being the ruler of your own life. Instead of death in the revolution that they want, of control of everybody, our revolution is about life. It's a peaceful revolution that multiplies and amplifies goodness and life, fertile life. And you demonstrate that by growing a garden, whether you have little pots inside your house or raised beds on your deck, or you have things growing in your yard, or you belong to a CSA where you pay other farmers to grow your food, or you trade skills with your neighbors who have food to share, through bartering. This is how you do a peaceful revolution based on gardening. That's why gardening is revolutionary. Instead of children being traumatized by this revolution, they're actually liberated by it. They're happy and they get grungy in the dirt and free-spirited and curious. And they learn about the cycles of life. They learn about other creatures. They learn about where their food comes from. A mushroom does not come from a grape. You'd be surprised how little kids know about food these days. They don't understand where things come from. They have no idea that milk comes from a mother cow who was robbed of her children while she was in nursing mode. And that mother cow was traumatized and is being held there as a prisoner and pumped until her titties are bloody. It's horrifying. Instead, we can raise them in gardens where they're getting dirty and planting seeds and playing with worms and stuff. This is the way we want to raise the future activists of the world, the indigos and millennials and starseeds. They need to have gardens for real, and we are the grown-ups who can catalyze that for them. It's a big responsibility. No matter how small your plot of land is, we just have a yard around our house in the suburbs. We produce more fruit and vegetables than we can eat. We give it away. We preserve it, We eat a lot more than we normally do when our gardens are producing. If you comply with this totalitarian control of the food supply, then you're one of the slaves. You're one of the people who has agreed to be defeated by their takeover of the world, But if you can at least try to grow one seed, even one sunflower seed or one tomato plant, then you are demonstrating your peaceful, nonviolent resistance. And you're planting the seeds for this peaceful revolution. And if enough people would do this, then enough people will be strong and healthy. They won't be toxified. They won't be sick. They won't be on pharmaceuticals. They'll be able to think clearly. They'll be able to be healthy and strong. And they'll be able to change the world. So anything you can do with that is helpful. Even if you dumpster dive produce from stores that throw it away and then set up a food not bombs table, it's still taking part in gardening indirectly. You're rescuing good food that was thrown away, and you're making sure that hungry people are fed. And that has tremendous honor. By growing food, you are birthing the divine warrior within yourself. The warrior is the one who protects and cares for their tribe. You're thinking of the future generations. You're thinking of the soil. You're thinking of the earth. You're being a steward of the earth instead of a consumer. It's long past time for us to stop being consumers, okay? It's okay to consume things because we're in transition, but it's time for a lot more people to step up like our grandmas and great-grandmas and grandpas and great-grandpas and grow our victory gardens, okay? Self-sufficiency is very powerful. You don't have to be loud about it. You don't have to be proud about it. You can be a humble, peaceful warrior in this gardening revolution. There's a lot of ways that this corporate oligarchy, this establishment, tries to defeat this peaceful revolution. A lot of regulations, a lot of zoning, a lot of making resources be the property of the government instead of the property of the people. The government is supposed to serve the people. If it doesn't, then that's called tyranny. The government works for us. We are not owned by the government. But they maintain this illusion that that's true, and they enforce it with laws and punishment. And so it's very radical and courageous to grow a garden and do these things like feeding the poor and dumpster diving and composting and collecting rainwater. You don't know that it's courageous until you get in trouble for it, and then you realize it is courageous. As you grow your own food and grow food for other people, you're forming weapons of peace and prosperity. You're making your own flower bombs, I guess you could say. Instead of violence, you are producing essence and lovely scents and healing tinctures and gentle soaps and things that just peacefully nourish you instead of the harsh assault of chemicals and hormone disruptors and things that calcify your pineal gland. So by refusing to ingest toxic ingredients, you're actually preserving your intelligence. You're protecting your future by being able to reproduce because you haven't been made infertile by all these chemicals and pesticides. You nourish your body, mind, heart, and soul by ingesting real food that has real chi. Garden tomatoes taste incredible compared to grocery store tomatoes. Just about anything grown in a garden tastes incredible, and it bursts with flavor, and it doesn't have to be large or fancy. You can just tell that it's alive and it's full of powerful nutrition. And you absorb that, and then you radiate that, and you are strong and wise and calm. You strengthen your immune system that way, and you lower your risk to diseases so you're not as vulnerable to the medical institutions and the pharmaceutical industries, which is a major way that the establishment, tries to dumb us down. You can make your own medicines. That's why grandma's always made a big pot of soup whenever people got sick. And by saving your seeds and by learning to preserve your own food and by trading with other people, you're not contributing to the consumerist culture. You're contributing to the person-to-person movement, the peaceful people power movement. And all of this starts with you growing your garden or supporting someone else who's growing a garden. Okay? It's a revolutionary act for peaceful warriors to commit themselves day by day to being a steward of the earth and to planting seeds for the future and providing nourishment for themselves and children and everyone else that helps us to be strong and free. And you're withdrawing as much of your support as you can from the establishment, peacefully and quietly. You're refusing to be so much of a consumer. And when you do have to be a consumer, you can try to buy local. You can try to barter. You can try to order online from people who make things by hand and grow things themselves. You may have to consume less because it costs more, but it's the principle that matters here. Okay? It's good to support people if you can afford it, like with the CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. But if you can't afford that, then there's other ways to network and trade and barter. And so that just touches a little bit on why I think, number one, gardening is a sacred act that honors the union of the God and the goddess in the garden. That these plants are like children, and we're like their parents, and we're stewarding them and loving them, and we're giving thanks, and we're being conscious. And number two, gardening is a revolutionary act. And by gardening, you are being a peaceful warrior. You're being a garden rebel. At the end of the movie called The Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore, they suggested that people change their light bulbs, which just showed me that they were just fooling around. They weren't really trying to actually change anything. Yeah, changing light bulbs matters, kind of. I don't really like AC lighting, and I don't like all these new light bulbs. They make me feel bad and give me headaches and make me sick. I prefer natural lighting. My point is, by operating under the guise of sustainability and rules and laws and stuff, it's just more totalitarian control of the agriculture system. What they really should have suggested was that everybody grow their own garden. Okay? So think for yourself. Go get yourself some seeds. Start a compost bucket in your house. You know, get some earthworms. Do something this year. If you have never done it before, you can just go to Whole Foods and you can buy a beautiful tomato plant in a pot of cherry tomatoes and just take care of it this year to kind of ease into how to have food growing near you. And then if you're a little more advanced, you can actually get some little starter plants at a nursery of some kind and grow those. And then as you get a little more advanced, you can order your seeds when it's still cold out and start them in seed flats. And as they become seedlings and it gets warm outside, you can transplant them outside or to bigger containers. And every year, if you own your own property, you should plant at least 2 to 3 fruit trees. Peaches, pears, plums, cherries, apples. You should plant at least a few blueberry bushes, strawberry plants, golden raspberry plants, things that come back year after year. And add to it every year. And take care of the ones you've already planted, and then add more to it. And when you plant them, act like you're bringing home a child you adopted, and you're adding them to your family. Choose a beautiful spot for them in the yard. Give them love and bless them and stroke them and kiss them and tell them you love them and you thank them for producing food for you. Go out and sing songs to your garden. Just sit and lay by your garden. And put your hand on the earth and let the earth know that you love her. I guarantee you rabbits and squirrels and birds and deer and other creatures will be drawn to that. And your garden will become a sanctuary, not only for yourself but for other creatures too. And this will bless your life as a peaceful revolutionary. So I'm going to wrap it up there. You can always do research online if you need to know more, or contact your local CSA, contact 4-H, contact the Ag Center, contact people you know who grow food. You know, when I was living in North Carolina, whenever we would have a potluck, whoever was holding the potluck would always say, "Should I go out and pick the salad now?" And that was so wonderful. For them to just walk right out the door and pick the salad and bring it in and wash it. We would all eat it. Just can't describe how wonderful that is. And if you don't have friends and you can't have a potluck, then just do that for yourself. It feels really good. So remember to be beautiful, be free, and be true to yourself. Be blissed and be blessed. And as you go through your day, take care and take it easy. And until I talk with you again, namaste and blessed be.